I see a lot of influencers on the internet talking about what's going on in the world, but how many of them are providing solutions to the problems? The reason we don't have many leaders standing the fuck up is because we don't have many people offering solutions for people to stand up and do their own work. Yeah. So we have to change the culture. And the culture that needs to change is we have to take pride in not being dependent on government bodies and these people who we all think are tyrants that we all know don't give two shits about us. And if you exercise your freedom to be fit and you exercise your freedom to capitalize on opportunities and become wealthy, now you're operating as an autonomously free individual because you've unplugged your dependency from their program and you're also exercising your rights that aren't granted by government, but granted by God. And the reason that we have this chaos going on in the world right now is because not enough people understand this concept and are executing on this concept. So if you want to know what the solution is, that's the real solution to most things. Because when you get people unplugged, they get clear-headed, they get healthy, they see what's going on, and they start to move up in their lives. Now, all of a sudden, they understand some other things that are happening in the world, and they're open to hear solutions that are outside the rails that they've set for us to run between. What's up?
What's going on, man?
Nothing, man. So we got a third wheel in here today.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, as Keith
brother from another mother.
Yeah, well, Keith so eloquently pointed out before the show that we have black Mr. Potato Head and white Mr. Potato Head. So I'd like to welcome to the show, Mr. Vaughn Kohler.
Thank you, but to give credit where credit is due, I believe it was Joe who
made the joke.
That was Keith.
That was Keith.
Oh, it was Keith. Oh, Keith, thanks. So I'm Yukon. What am I? Yukon.
You're like the Irish potato.
Irish potato?
Yeah, DJ's like the Idaho potato.
Yeah, we're spuddies.
Yeah, spuddies.
Yeah.
Idaho.
Yeah. So I got Vaughn on. You guys remember Vaughn. Vaughn was my co-host on the MFCEO project and will continue to be my co-host on the new version of the MFCEO project that we're launching here very shortly. So he's actually in town to help work on that project. Mm-hmm. And I figured this would be a good time to help him, jump in on the show and see if he's still got what it takes.
I hope I do.
Yeah, I hope so too.
What I'm really excited about is to discover what kind of movie Madat uses for the promotional of this episode.
Well, we don't do movies for the Q&AFs. That's only for CTI. But here's what we'll do.
We can
Here's what we'll do. Here's what we'll do. We will make your dreams come true. We can do that, right?
Thank you.
Because we're into making people's dreams come true around here.
Equal opportunity.
All right. Okay. Yeah. But except for you. So we have the dream maker sitting right over here. It's up to him.
Yeah.
Now, if we get the nod from Madat, we can do it. What do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Oh, you get one. All right.
All right. So just like Titanic or Jaws.
Titanic, whoa.
Or,
I'm not being, who's Rose?
Yeah.
That's Vaughn.
Big Hero 6.
I'll be one of the waiters.
And then we also had a fiery debate earlier before you were here, and you would have gotten this right, but nobody else in here got this right.
Oh,
okay. Who sings the song "Too Legit to Quit"?
Oh, MC Hammer.
Okay.
First of all,
who later on became known simply as Hammer.
Hold on. Did DJ actually get it right, or was he looking it up on his phone?
I didn't look it up.
You were on your phone the whole time.
Listen, first of all, I find that offensive. Okay, because that song is like embedded in my DNA code.
Can you do the dance?
I can do the dance.
I bet you can. I bet you actually can.
I can pretty good. Hey, we'll see.
Yeah.
Cut some rugs.
All right.
I fucking do the song.
Okay.
Would you say that song is more iconic than Can't Touch This?
I don't know. I think that's like.
No, I think Can't Touch This.
That's a tough.
No, yeah, no,
that's tough.
That's like definitely
Top
5, top 3. Mm-hmm. But Can't Touch This. It's up there.
I don't know. Too Legit to Quit's pretty fucking up there too, man. Mm-hmm. It was up there right around that Ice Baby time,
right?
With Vanilla Ice.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That was the peak of humanity.
There's so much good music back then.
Yeah, that was the peak of rap music, right?
People don't understand.
Doesn't get better.
It's been downhill from there.
It's true.
When I was
back in my day,
I had to walk up the hill to school both ways in the snow. All right. So, what do you got? We got some stuff.
Hey man, to everyone's surprise, I got some good ones for you.
You do?
I do. Yeah, we got some really, really good ones. Let's dive into these, man. Andy, guys, question number 1. Andy, if someone wants to pursue a career in politics, where do you think they should start? He says, I'm a military veteran and fellow Missouri resident, and I would like to start down a political path. I'm tired of these politicians not being held accountable, as well as not truly representing the people that elected them. So as a normal person, I guess, how do we do that? How do we accomplish that?
That's a good question. First off, I'd say that it's good that you're interested in that because we need actual human beings that are from reality to serve in these positions. You know, part of the reason that we're in the mess that we're in is that we have lifetime politicians who are not of the people making decisions that are not for the people. And if we ever want to correct that, that means that we're going to have to activate the population to fill these spots inside of our government. And if we don't, we'll continue to get what we're getting. So kudos to you for wanting to do that because that's what it's going to take for us to get shit figured out. But I would say, you know, outside the technicalities of, you know, hiring a campaign manager and going to a political consulting firm that actually knows how to do these things, which is likely what you would want to do. The first thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get someone like that interested in you. And which means you're going to have basic things. First thing you're going to have, in my opinion, is some ideas about the way things should be. And that would be no different than if you were starting a business. A lot of people want to start a business. A lot of people want to, you know, get people to invest in them, AKA have a political expert, you know, take interest in them. And to do that, you have to have a business plan. And I would think it would be no different with somebody that wanted to be a politician. You'd have to have an idea for policy, a policy plan. All right. What do you think needs to be fixed? Because let's be real. We have a lot of people out here bitching about everything, but nobody's really offering other solutions or other ideas. I do that all the time. I tell you guys what I think should be, even if it's totally outside the reality of what we have right now. You know, I like to think about solutions. A lot of what we have going on makes no sense to me. And I think people are interested to hear from people with solutions and not just hear from people that are complaining. So I would take some time. I would take the top 10 issues, you know, that are affecting, you know, society. And I would write down what you think needs to be fixed about those issues and how you would fix them and what would you argue for and what would you support and what would you not support, and make that very clear. And the second thing is, you know, to become a politician, you have to be able to communicate. All right. And not everybody's comfortable communicating. More people are afraid of public speaking than they are of dying. And that's a skill that you have to develop. And do you know how you develop public speaking? You develop public speaking, shockingly, by speaking in public.
Publicly.
Right. You know, so.
Well, that was a Kamala Harris line right there.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't have the hand gestures, you know. But we have to be real about what this takes. Like, you know, they make us feel like we're not qualified to do these things, and a lot of us aren't. But the things that make us qualified are not that important. I'm not sitting here saying you have to be a polished, perfect public speaker, but you have to communicate your points and why you think they're valid and why you think these should be the way that we do things, because you have to compel people into joining your team. That's what politics is all about. Hey, here's the problem, guys. We all see the problem. Here's what I think we should do about it. Are you with me? Or are you not with me? And you'll find out real quick if you have a future in politics.
Yeah.
You know, so I would start there.
Yeah. I want to ask you this. So to follow up, obviously make some policy outlines, right? Work on your public speaking. But I want to ask you guys both this, because I feel like when we see the stereotypical politician, there's almost like this inherent charisma. Okay. And so I want to ask both of you.
Is
in your
that
opinion,
typical politician or is that the good ones?
maybe the good ones. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it leads to the question though, is charisma an inherent thing that is just there, or is that something that's a skill that's developed?
I think that there are personalities that, you know, they're born with a little bit more gregariousness, and they're just sort of in their DNA to be a little bit more people oriented. But no, I actually think you can develop charisma. There's a great book called The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox Cabane, and she identifies 3 sources of charisma: power, presence, and warmth. And those are all things that you can work on. Power is your ability to do things for people, to get things done for people. Presence is treating someone like they're the only person in front of you, the only person in the room. And warmth is just being a good dude or a good woman and treating people with kindness and respect. And you can cultivate all three of those things. And if you exercise those things in your personality, you're going to be charismatic.
Yeah, I also think, practicing, okay? Like a lot of people, dude, when I've trained salespeople for a long, long time, right? And a lot of people, when they come on board the first day, they have zero sales experience. How do you get them to understand what it's like to sell? You put them in a sales environment and you let them take reps. And I think a lot of people confuse things like charisma with something that people are born with, when in reality, it's familiarity. It's the reps. It's being comfortable with people over and over and over again. When I first started giving my first quote unquote will qualify as public speaking, it was in front of 5 or 6 employees, and I was nervous every time. But over the course of 15, 20 years, you do that thousands and thousands and thousands of times, you start to even forget that you were nervous the first time you ever did it. And I think a lot of it, when it comes down to what people perceive they need versus what people actually need, is what keeps them from taking action towards what it is they want to do. And so a lot of people who are trying to, they think like, well, fuck, I could never be a politician, or I could never be a successful business person, or I could never be a best-selling author, or I could never. And if you make a list about those things, you're going to always find a whole bunch of things in yourself. What you're doing is you're turning the microscope onto yourself and finding the worst reasons as to why you can't do what it is you want to do. And that's not what winners do. That's not how winners think. The winners think, okay, I have these things that I can do, and they leverage those things to move forward. And then as they practice over and over and over again, they get better at the things they're weak at. But I think having clear, concise policy and problem solution, organization, and being able to communicate is ultimately what it's going to come down to, because we see leaders in history, right? Like these great speeches in history given by some of the greatest leaders that ever lived, quote unquote, depending on who you ask, right?
Yeah.
And, there are always these speeches like Martin Luther King, right? Like he gives you this speech and you kind of get the chills. You're like, man, this guy's got power in his voice. But that comes from his belief in his policies and his solutions. Like he understands what he's fighting for. And when you listen to someone who is totally captivating with their energy, it's usually because they're competent in the content that they're communicating. So a lot of people, they think speaking is a show. It's not a show. You're delivering a message. And if you believe in your message and you believe in what you're talking about, the energy is going to be much more captivating to the audience. Yeah. I mean, that's really my whole jam. I am far from a polished public speaker. There's no, like, I get a lot of credit for being a really good public speaker, but it's not because I'm like polished or I'm good. It's because I go up there and say what the fuck I think, and it resonates with people. And the reason I resonate with people is because what I'm saying, I actually believe myself. And this isn't about, like when I go talk to people and I talk about what's going on in the country, usually people clap at the end. The reason they clap at the end isn't because what I said was, earth shaking or groundbreaking. It's because they can tell that I deeply believe that we have a problem and we need a solution and we need them to step up. And that's going to come from you just understanding your content, understanding what you think the problem is, what you think the solutions are, and then going up there and delivering it with the intent that you're there to fix and you're there to serve and you're not there for yourself. I think that's a big differentiator between politicians. Yeah. I mean, can we not tell kind of who's there to actually solve problems?
I was about to say that the converse is true, right? Like it's very, very easy to look at any politician and they don't believe what they're saying. They don't believe there's no conviction. You can easily tell, oh, that person's full of shit.
Right.
Like instantly.
Yeah, but it's the same with sales.
Yeah.
It's the same with sales. This is why great salespeople understand their product and believe in their product. Otherwise, they're not, able to convince people that it's a great product.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of this just comes down to getting clear on what you think needs to be done, which most people refuse to do. I mean, let's look at what people talk about. I see a lot of influencers on the internet talking about what's going on in the world, but how many of them are providing solutions to the problems? I don't see a lot of that. I see a lot of people posting clips, screaming, saying, man, look at this stuff. Or can you believe this stuff? Holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. And stirring up emotions, but there's no solution. Bro, we know the problem. And do you know the problem, Vaughn? Do you know the problem, DJ? We all know the problem. We're fucking looking at the problem. We all feel the problem. We all see the problem in our fucking pocketbooks. We see the problem in the cities and the crime. We see the problem with all this shit. We're aware of the problem, but what's the solution? And that's where people are dropping the ball. The reason we don't have many leaders standing the fuck up is because we don't have many people offering solutions for people to stand up and do their own work. This is why I come on here every single show and I talk about personal excellence and raising the standard, because what we actually need is not a violent revolution. Now, I think we're getting closer to that. If I'm being honest, I think we're getting closer to that. However, even if that were to happen, what about tomorrow? What about the next day? What about next week? What about next month? We would just find ourselves in the same situation after an amount of time anyway.
Yeah.
So we have to change the culture. And the culture that needs to change is we have to take pride in not being dependent on these government bodies and these people who we all think are tyrants that we all know don't give two shits about us. Okay, so how do we remove ourselves and unplug ourselves from that system? Well, some of you are already sort of unplugged. Some of you are already fit and healthy. Some of you are already financially successful, but these are only parts of the puzzle. To be completely unplugged, you have to make more of an effort than that. You have to be fit because they want you fat. The reason they want you fat is because they want you sick. Why do they want you sick? Because they want you to take their medicine. All right. Why do they want you to take their medicine? Because that's where they make their money. If you're fat, sick, and taking their medicine and consuming all their data, you're the perfect mega consumer for their matrix they've created. So we have to remove ourselves from all these things. We can't eat fake food. We can't allow ourselves to be unfit. We can't consume mindless information. We have to consume things that actually make us think and expand our ability to comprehend information and learn new things. And we have to do this, and we have to set the example so that our neighbors to the left and to the right of us see that happening. And when they see you raise your standards and they see you unplug your family from this control mechanism that they've created, now all of a sudden they start doing little things. Maybe they become a little fitter. Maybe they become a little healthier. Maybe they stop spending so much time on social media and more time reading some, stuff that's going to help them out. All right. That's actually what's going to change. Freedom in this country is highly misunderstood, in my opinion. I think most people in America believe that some hero is going to ride in on the white horse and say, you are all now free, like they do in the movies. That's not actually how freedom works. How freedom works is freedom is granted by yourself on an autonomous level according to how you exercise your freedom. And if you exercise your freedom to be fit, and you exercise your freedom to capitalize on opportunities and become wealthy, if you exercise your freedom to put good information in your brain, if you exercise your freedom to use your voice when you see things that aren't wrong, now you're operating as an autonomously free individual because you've unplugged your dependency from their program, and you're also exercising your rights that aren't granted by government, but granted by God, according to our Constitution.
Right.
Okay, so freedom isn't something that Donald Trump's going to grant you. Freedom is something that you're going to grant yourself. And the reason that we have this chaos going on in the world right now is because not enough people understand this concept and are executing on this concept. So if you want to know what the solution is, that's the real solution to most things. Because when you get people unplugged, they get clear-headed, they get healthy, they see what's going on, and they start to move up in their lives. Now, all of a sudden, they understand some other things that are happening in the world, and they're open to hear solutions that are outside the rails that they've set for us to run between.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just add, going back to what you were saying about communication, the importance of being a really good communicator. I think the difference between the average politician and someone who is truly great, a truly great leader, an iconic statesman, is that those kinds of people are able to express really big ideas that call people to greatness in very simple, straightforward ways that the average person can understand. You think about during World War II when the Nazis are just like blitzing England, Churchill didn't get into the minutia of the strategy that they were going to employ to repel the Nazis. Instead, he got in front of everybody and he said, well, here's what's going to happen. We're going to conduct ourselves in such an incredible way that 1,000 years from now, when they're talking about all that England has ever accomplished. They're going to say that this was our finest hour. And then like in the 80s, when in the middle of the Cold War, when, you know, it's United States against Russia and all the different politicians, when they're asked in front of people, well, what's your policy for winning the Cold War? Or what's your philosophy of our relationship with Russia? All the people, you can go back and listen to this and watch footage of this. All of the political candidates at the time were saying, well, there'd be a combination of containment, and then we'd work over here, and then we'd do detente over here. They asked Governor Reagan, what's your policy regarding the Soviet Union? And he looked at the reporter and says, my policy is simply this: they lose, we win. And he was, to this day, he is ranked as one of the highest, most popular presidents, because he was able to take concepts of greatness and put them in terms that people can understand. And if we want to be truly influential people who are, you know, active in politics, we got to learn to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you go back to the first.
People don't want any more of these nerds.
No, they don't. And you go back to the first election between Clinton and Trump, and this is not a partisan statement. This is a statement of fact, okay? Hillary Clinton's motto, or her little campaign slogan that year in 2016 was, "I'm with her." Like, what does that even mean?
Yep, you just
I'm with her.
half the country.
What does that even mean?
That means you should vote for me because I'm a woman, not because I'm qualified.
Right. And of course, what was Donald Trump's? Make America great again.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think about Donald Trump. He encapsulated an idea that was calling people to greatness. He expressed it in a really simple way. If we're going to win the culture war, we got to be able to do that.
He also made it about America and not about themselves, right? That's another key thing about being in politics and being a great leader is the selfless pursuit of the solution to the problem,
100%.
right? Like, this isn't a lot of these politicians, they make it about themselves. It's about Obama. It's about being the first black president. It's about being the first woman vice president. It's about being the first woman president. Americans don't give a fuck about that shit, okay? Here's what we care about. We care that our fucking money goes as far as it can go. We care that we have the freedom to, you know, not be financially oppressed. We care that gas prices aren't $6. We care that we're not at war. We care that we're not shutting the country down. Like, we care about things. And those are the things that you should care about because that's what politics is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a position of service to the people, not a position of glory to yourself. And a lot of these politicians over the last couple decades, it's been all about them. I'm the first trans general in the military. Well, are you fucking any good at being a general? Right. You know, are you good at being an admiral? Like, are you good at the job? I'm the first this or that. Like, bro, I don't give a fuck about the first. Like, I'm over the first, and everybody else is too. You know why? Because the world's falling the fuck apart because we've been worried about the first instead of the best. And that's where we need to make the change. We need to put the best people in. And dude, and you know, here's something I'd like to say too. There's a big problem in America right now where people like look at the best people that can do the job, and then they find these other flaws in other areas of their life and try to like say, well, I'm not voting for that person because, you know, in second grade, he fucking did this and this and this.
Yeah, he took a pack of glue.
Or 20 years ago, he had a fucking affair, or he did this thing, or he divorced his wife, or he fucking, you know, cheated on his fucking high school math test 50 years ago. Like, dude, look, do you want the job done at a high level or not? That's how you have to look at it. And we have been trained to look at the faults of any qualified candidate by the media politics matrix and attack them for it. And why have we been trained to do that? We've been trained to do that so that the best possible people that could actually fix shit end up burning on the cross because you didn't like something they did in their personal life, or you didn't like. That has nothing to do with how well the job can get done. And this is a big problem in society right now. Anybody who gains traction, the dirt comes out and everybody fucking blows up on them. And then you lose a candidate that could actually fix the fucking problem.
Well, that same thing also prevents a lot of good people who would want to step up.
That's why. Yeah, that's why they do it. Because
I want to do that for.
Yeah,
you know
because every single person out there has this thing behind them called fucking life.
Yeah.
All right. And everybody's like, well, dude, look what they're doing to this person. I don't want to do that. And they propagate this cancel culture shit, and we eat it up whether we know it or not. Right. Yeah. Like when you look at someone, like when I look at someone and I say in my company, I say, is this person, is this the right person for the job? I'm not thinking like, okay, we got to put this person in there because they're a man, or this person because they're a woman, or this person because they're a race. I'm thinking, all right, who's going to be able to do this fucking job? And then I don't go on behind, and pick apart their personal history and every boyfriend they ever had, or every girlfriend they ever had, or whatever happened to them for the last 30 years of their fucking life. We're trying to accomplish a mission. And the American people have gotten caught up in this cancel culture and don't understand that it's not just like things like Bud Light. It's things like when you have a qualified candidate that's stepping up trying to do good shit and you blow them up because they have a life behind them. Now, what are you left with? You're left with all these creatures in Washington, D.C. that have more shit in their closet than anybody, pillaging our freaking country and destroying our country because you didn't like the way some dude fucking tweeted, okay, or whatever. And it's not about Trump, but my point is this. 2019, we had a pretty good fucking deal here in America. Economy was good, gas was cheap, people were fucking employed, people were getting along. Like, bro, we doing
all right.
Listen, it's real shit.
Yeah.
Okay? And you guys fucking villainized a dude based upon a fucking lie, the Russiagate collusion that has been proven to be false because you didn't like the way this motherfucker attacked people. Well, let me tell you something. When you get attacked every single day, because I do. I open up the internet and you know what? 50% of the people fucking don't like me. Every fucking day I open the internet, that's what I'm confronted with. Okay? After a while, you're like, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Like there's only so much tact you can have before you're like, you know what? Fuck all these people. And
it's real shit, man.
Andy, don't you think, though, part of the reason that the cancel culture or the cancel mindset works is that usually the people that it's directed against, unfortunately, these people cave instead of saying, yeah, I did it. That was 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and owning it and just being like, I still represent a lot of really good things. And if you can't get over it, fine.
I think that's the only way you should handle it.
Yeah.
I think that every single person out here that lives a life knows that in the past they made mistakes. I think that every single person that's being honest will tell you that. And I think that every single person watching from the outside can tell you that about themselves. And I think that if you were just to say, hey, I fucked that up.
Sure did.
You know what? And that was why I quit doing this.
Yeah.
Or explain the change you made and why you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think, but yeah, people do make it worse because they run and they hide and they squeal and they try to deflect. And like, dude, people aren't stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I honestly think that the apology thing, I think people are over that. I think the best way to cancel yourself now is to apologize.
Yep.
I think if you don't want to be canceled, I think you do exactly what Vaughn said. You say, guess what? That's actually correct. I did those things. I fucked up. I wasn't always the fucking person I am today. That's the point of life. I've gotten a lot better. I'm embarrassed of those things, but I've also changed my behaviors, and that's why I'm continuing to move forward.
Yeah. But back on the things we need to be talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to add to this guy real quick before we go to question number 2, though. I would also like to add, that's great you're getting in. Get in, do your job, and get out. Don't make that a career.
Yeah.
That's like, to me, I think I'm so tired of seeing
you're touching on a very important point. These politicians, this is not a way for you to become rich and famous.
No.
This is supposed to be service. This is supposed to be something that you're sacrificing. You're sacrificing 4 to 8 years of your money earning potential or your business potential or your life potential to serve. It's service. It's no different than going into the military. Okay. And that's how people should look at it. And we have these people that are in office for 30, 40, 50 fucking years, bro. Dianne Feinstein just gave her power of attorney to her son. She's 90 years old. She's still serving in Congress. That's insane. That means that her son is actually the person that can make decisions.
Right.
Like, dude, we have to end this elderly issue. And the reason it never ends is because the deals that were made 40 years ago have gotten everybody so rich that they want to hang in there and keep going.
Right.
Yep.
And this is,
and then their grandkids come up.
Bro, our government's,
kids,
from that aspect, from really most aspects, but from that aspect, people shouldn't be allowed to trade stocks. And I think they just passed something on this too, though.
They're working on it.
Yeah,
they're working on it.
But like they should have term limits. They shouldn't be allowed to trade stocks. These are things that like should be obvious to every American. Like, bro, you shouldn't be able to go in there worth X and then come out, 100X. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? What product did you sell? What benefit did you provide? Oh, none. You got it because someone paid you so you would pass laws that weren't in the interest of everybody else. And that was what you got paid for, because otherwise they wouldn't need to pay you. If they need to pay you, that means by default that it wasn't in the interest of the people. It was in the interest of the people. You'd be able to say, I'm doing this because it's a good thing and everybody vote for it.
Right.
And our whole system is built on that.
Yep.
So like, dude, our system is totally poisoned. And the only way to unpoison it, aside from it burning down, which I think is a real possibility, is to replace it with individuals like this gentleman who's looking to make a difference. I commend that.
Yep.
We need more of that. And the skill sets that you're going to need to do that are not as difficult to maintain or to gain as you think. It takes a little bit of practice.
Mm-hmm.
It takes some thought. It takes some organization, and it takes some reps. And that's what you're going to have to do.
Guys, Andy, our second question number 2. Andy, after hearing you talk about the zero options mentality, I've implanted that in my life, and now I feel unstoppable in all areas of my life. Lately, I feel that I'm not giving myself enough grace or credit as I accomplish my goals. Andy, at what point did you give yourself credit and feel proud of the goals you accomplished? I'm hesitant that if I begin to give myself credit or feel too proud, I'll let my foot off the gas and stay stuck in the same place. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like there's truth to that. I feel like that a lot of people get caught up in what they've done and then they let their foot off the gas.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a real concern.
We're in that varsity Letterman.
Yeah,
forever.
I think a lot of people, like in pro sports, a lot of people are content with getting on the team, not performing once they're on the team. And we see this in business. Like, people open a business and they think, oh, I should be congratulated that I opened a business. No, that's very easy. What's hard is running a business for 30 years and employing thousands of people and making impact in your community and the world and making a little money doing it, right? For you and everybody else. And so, like, dude, I don't know. I struggle with this, if I'm being completely honest. I tend to be the kind of person, and you guys in this room know this because you work with me, but I tend to be the glass is half empty type person. I don't look at the glass half full. I look at what we don't have. And that's what keeps me hungry. That's what keeps me wanting to grow. And that's what keeps me wanting to be better. When I look at what we've built with First Form, I'm very proud of the people that come here every day and give their all. This is a very, high standard place to work, and we go to work. And I'm proud of the difference that we make in other people's lives. These people who come in and, they need to get in shape, and we work with them and we change them and we help them get their shit together. I'm proud of, what happens with the Live Hard program. I mean, of course I'm proud of those things. I'm proud of what we do in Arte, helping the business owners, I'm proud of the communities we help build. Like, I'm proud of all of that shit, the philanthropy work, all the stuff we do, I'm proud of. But I don't think about it that much. Like, I think about what we got to do still. And I tend to look at where I'm at and I see the opportunity, because here's the thing, we talk about this when we talk about potential, right? Your potential is always expanding as you gain skill set. And so when I define success as the commitment to the pursuit of the fulfillment of your true potential. And the reason it's the commitment to the pursuit is because you can never actually achieve it. All right. Because as you go down the road, my potential now compared to when I started in 1999 is much greater. I have much more resources. I have much more knowledge. I have much more skills. And so what that has done is that's opened up the potential to where now the potential is, holy shit, look what we could do from here. And so I kind of look at everything as this is day one. Everything we've done to this point is amazing and it's cool. And I'm glad we're here. We're fortunate to be here, but what could we do from here? And that's the attitude that I hold. I know that if I don't consistently pursue that potential of what I could do or could be, or what we could become or what we could create, that's going to create regret for me later, because what's going to happen is I'm going to get to a point And I'm going to like, dude, a lot of people ask me this. They say, why don't you sell the company, dude? You could sell the company and never have to work again. Dude, I could have sold the company and never have to work again 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's not appealing to me. First of all, if you know me, what the fuck would I do if I didn't have something to do? I would fucking blow my motherfucking brains out, bro. Real talk. For the other reasons that I would want to now, you know?
Right.
But like, the point is I have to fucking have a project and we have to have purpose. You know, a lot of people, we talk about this, the definition of happiness, you know, definition of happiness is discipline plus gratitude plus purpose. And if you don't have a purpose, if you don't have a project to work on, if you don't work towards fulfilling that potential, that the happiness can't really be there. You know, this is why you see these very wealthy people get depressed and kill themselves. It's because they lost their purpose, because they sold their company or they cashed out or they did something, you know, that took away their daily mission in life. And we all have to have that mission. If we don't have that mission, how can we be happy? And for entrepreneurs, that's a big part of our mission. So, you know, when we talk about, you know, being proud, I think there's a lot of truth to being proud. Kind of keeps you from really getting to where you could or should go. And you know, so, and I know everybody doesn't think like that. I know some people get into business and they want to make some money so that they can make some money to go live their life. But I think for like the biggest entrepreneurs, the ones who really truly build, you know, 8, 9, 10 figure type companies, those guys, that's part of their life. That's part of what they do. It's part of their identity. And so for me, man, like, yes, I'm very proud. I'm mostly proud of the people that have developed, like guys like Cody, who's been with me for 17 years, or, you know, I mean, a lot of these people, dude, I've got tons of people here who have been 5 years longer. You know, I'm proud as fuck of these people. And I'm proud of the work they do, because it's not me doing the work, it's them doing the work. All these people you see changing their lives out there, it's them doing that. It's not me. And that makes me proud. But in terms of like, you know, I don't know. I don't focus on it. Like, do you think I focus on it?
No, what comes to my mind is in the early months of the MFCO project, we did an episode that focused on this whole idea of evaluating your life 24 hours at a time, what you call win the day.
Yeah.
And the best thing that I learned out of that is that's how I evaluate my own greatness, or my own, the level to which I've invested in the pursuit of my full potential, is that I might have written a book a couple years ago, and I can look back at that and I can be grateful that God gave me the strength to do that, or that I kept the promise to myself to do that. But in terms of how I evaluate my current greatness or the level to which I'm pursuing my potential, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant because it happened in the past. And so being around you being around you the last couple of years, like that's how I've been trying to continue to train myself to think, is that I can be full of gratitude. I can be full of thanksgiving for the things that I've done in the past and the accomplishments I've had, but it's irrelevant to my current greatness.
That's how I feel too, dude. Like, I feel like, you know, like when I look at like what we have going on here, I don't come to work every day and be like, man, like we're fucking crushing it or we're killing it. I definitely feel fortunate and grateful to be at this point. And I'm glad we didn't quit, and I'm glad we were able to work through the hard things. But like, I'm very aware that the life I live now is the product of who I was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And if I want to continue to live the life that I like, and then provide that life for the people that I love and care about and go to battle for every single day, which are the people in this building and people affiliated with my companies, you know, that's going to depend on what I do today, you know? And I think a lot of people put far too much, you know, I don't want to be the guy who says like, bro, back in high school, I won the MVP trophy.
Right.
You know, or, you know, back at 82, if they put me in the game, I would have won, you know, like, that's never who I want to be. I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that actually did the things.
Right.
You know, and if I do fail and I do crash and burn, which is very possible because there's risks involved to do these things. If that were to happen, then maybe I would look back and I would say, okay, well, look what I did before. I could do this again. I can do it in this other way. And I would just use that as confirmation as to what I'm capable of doing. I wouldn't give up. I don't think I'm ever going to stop. I don't think this is ever going to be something I stop doing. I don't think I'm ever going to sell our company. I don't think I'm ever going to retire. I don't think I'm ever going to stop working. I don't think I'm ever going to stop on projects, you know, like just like this new MFCEO that we got going on.
Mhm.
Like, dude, why are we doing this? We're not doing this so that, you know, for any other reason than we recognize that it's the timing. It's much more needed right now than it was even in 2015 when we started it.
Absolutely.
So it's a purpose-driven mission that we're working on because we recognize needs that be filled. And, you know, I don't know, for some reason I got cursed with this thing where it's like, well, if nobody else is doing it, I guess I'll fucking do it,
Mhm.
you know? And I don't know, like,
Mhm.
let me tell you, and Vaughn, you know this, and everybody in this room knows this, and DJ, you probably know it as good as anybody. It's fucking hard as fuck for me. Like, this shit is not easy for me. There's nothing about what I do that's easy. I live a very difficult life for me. Now, there's other people that are probably at my level that probably handle it better, and they're probably more skilled, and they're probably more talented than me. You know, there's a lot of people that are smarter than me, and there's a lot of people that are better at handling stress and pressure than me. But I'm doing the best I fucking can for what the fuck I have. And I know that when I go home every day, like, that's real shit. Like, I come home every day and I'm fucking beat down, bro. Like, and you ask Emily about it, bro. You know this.
I know it.
How many times, like, about once a month, I got to go home early, bro, because I'm like having a fucking nervous fucking breakdown because I'm so fucking beat the fuck up.
Yeah, we just talked about this the other day about stress manifesting itself physically.
Yeah.
Like,
DJ got his first taste of this.
yeah, like, I've never seen it, but like, I've seen you have to go through
Yeah.
it. And I'm always like, man, like, how the fuck do you get there? And then, you know,
Yeah.
You had an anxiety attack?
No, what I wouldn't call it.
No,
an anxiety
he's been
attack.
going through the pressures of planning a wedding.
Yeah.
Dude, it was
Yeah.
a lot. But,
No, I had one a couple years ago, and I thought, oh, it's our rite of passage.
yeah,
It's a great story. I'll tell another time. But
Well, I told you were going to live.
yeah, you
Here
did.
you are.
You did.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
honestly, it's the power of words.
Yeah.
Just to give people a quick background, one of the days I was working at First Form a couple years ago, I felt this crushing weight on my chest, and I legit thought I was having a heart attack. And I ran over to Drew and said, Drew, I gotta go. And he's like, what's going on? I go, I think I'm having a heart attack. And Drew's like, well, you better stay here and we'll get somebody. I go, no, I gotta go. So I took off, and of course, Drew, being the great guy he is, he went and got help, and I'm driving down the road. I don't even know where I was going. You get on the phone and you're like, what's going on, dude? I
Pull
go,
over.
I pull over. I'm like, I'm having a heart attack. He goes, bro, you're not having a heart attack. No, I am. This happens to me all the time. You're having an anxiety attack. And dude, it is crazy about the power of words.
Yeah.
When you said you're having an anxiety attack,
Yeah.
all of a sudden I was like, oh. And
Yeah.
my symptoms like significantly reduced all of a
Bro,
sudden.
we know exactly what to tell ourselves to get ourselves in those states too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really, listen, bro, if you're trying to do legendary shit, that's what I'm trying to do.
Right.
I'm trying to do legendary shit.
Right.
I'm not trying to get by. Like, and that's where people misunderstand my content a lot. Like, you know, you see these clips of me going around the internet, and I see a lot of people and they're like, fuck, this guy's fucking crazy. Or like, he's fucking, what's wrong with this guy? Well, what's wrong with it is nothing. There's nothing wrong with me, but I'm trying to do legendary shit. And most people watching that, saying those critical things, they're just trying to get by. They're making, they want to make a little money. They want to have a nice life. And dude, that's great. I'm not hating on that, but I'm built a little bit differently. And for me to satisfy my needs to be fulfilled, I have to go home at night and know that I didn't leave anything on the fucking table, bro,
Right.
because regret will just eat me the fuck up. And that's what I'm built like, man. I don't know why I'm built that way. I don't know. But like, my goal is like, here's the thing, you know, right now in the world, we need fucking winners. We need people winning. We need people fit. We need people healthy. We need people intelligent. We need people making money. We need people kicking ass. And we need people understanding what that actually takes, which is why we're launching the new version of the project. I'm excited as fuck about it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Anyway.
Real shit, man.
Yeah.
I
long story
wanted to
short.
add on to that.
Okay.
Onto that. That's the last. Is it safe to say also, because I'm hearing this like tone as you both talk about this, and you touched on potential expanding, right? Is it safe to say to also kind of, you know, keep this feeling that this person's having, is that also increasing the goals and expectations that you set for yourself, right? If you're constantly increasing that, knowing where you are compared to where you want to be, keeping that gap so freaking big, hitting these milestones, you're not even focused on that because you know where your expectations lie. Is that?
Look, dude, I've dealt with winners at the highest level, athletes, business owners, all day long. I mean, we got the highest level athletes that come in here, bro. Like the best people at their fucking craft. the best music artist at the
seventh grader.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
we do have the best
highest ranking QB and
highest rated seventh grade quarterback here at First Form today
in the country,
which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah,
that's wild.
He's awesome. And by the way, I found that kid on my own. All right, but from my experience about dealing with these people now in athletics, it's different because you have a time frame, right? The cool thing about business and entrepreneurship is you can do it your whole life. But dude, I've seen a lot of people fail. And do you know why most of these people that I've witnessed fail? Because they get to a certain point, which was always the point in their head, and they either get within like 10% of it or right to it. And then they think they made it. And when they think they made it, they take their foot off the gas and they start talking about what they did instead of what they're doing or the opportunity they have in front of them. And then everybody else keeps moving forward and they stay right where they are. And in 5, 6, 7 years down the road, they're out of business or they're out of a career. And it's because they put a lot of weight into that milestone that was appropriate 10 years ago to think about, but it's no longer appropriate because of like what I said a minute ago, your potential is continuously expanding. So real champions, like real talk, Tim Grover will tell you this too. He's coached the highest level people ever. They raise the bar before they hit the goal. Okay. So like they reset the bar before they even hit the bar. So by the time they pass the goal, it's not even that big of a deal because they've already on to something else.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of how I operate. And I've always operated that way naturally. Like when I know I'm getting close to a goal that I set for myself, I'm automatically thinking about that next thing. And dude, let me tell you, real talk, there's some negatives to that.
There's some mind fucking.
Yeah, because I think there's more positives than negatives. I'm not going to shit on it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is some reality that like sometimes you aren't as grateful for doing things. You don't appreciate them the way that you should because you're always looking to the next thing. And that's a very real mental issue that you should be aware of. I think if you're aware of it, it helps counteract it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's, if you ask me 5, 6, this is why the MFCEO project is going to be so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because my perspective is different now.
Absolutely.
If you ask me fucking back, and there's an episode on this where I talk about winners do not ever celebrate. That's not actually true. If I could change one fucking thing about my life, I would have celebrated little milestones along the way instead of just thinking we're not there, because I've always had this same mentality. And so as I've gotten older, now I'm starting to get better about acknowledging things as they come, because that mindset has also made me, not as good in like family environments, right? Like I was never someone that like got excited about birthdays. I'm not someone that gets excited about other people accomplishing things. And that made it seem like I didn't care, but it wasn't that I didn't care. It's that I didn't care about that shit for myself. So like, I didn't realize what the big deal was.
Yeah.
And so there's a new awareness around, like think about it like this. Like, what if you knew that you were going to get where you wanted to go? Would you take the time to acknowledge milestones as they come? Of course you would, And I think when we get so fearful and so desperate and so anxious to get where we're trying to go, like I was, because reality, I was in survival mode, dude. Like I had to fucking go, or I felt like I was going to lose. And, that cost me a lot of shit in my life, And so like, I think it's important to be aware and to acknowledge and to celebrate, but also to remember that, there's a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a good balance there.
I really want to add this. And this is something, again, I've learned from you and I learned from our years doing the MFCO project, but I've had this experience. I've had clients who have had this experience where you're looking at your life on paper and you're going, man, I'm doing some cool stuff. Like I'm really, quote unquote, kicking ass. Right. And yet you feel terrible. It's like, why can I look on paper like this is the best I've ever done, and yet I still feel terrible? Well, I've concluded in this, I had this sort of aha moment a few weeks ago. Really deep down, I know that even though I am doing well, I'm capable of a lot more.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. Yeah. I haven't elevated my standards yet. And that's why I think deep down you can look objectively and say, oh, there's a lot of really good things going on in your life, but it doesn't mean that you're doing as well as you could be doing.
But you are doing it because you're doing things outside of your comfort zone now. Now you're doing things like going on that airplane ride. Yeah. Now you're doing things like learning how to swim so you can do a triathlon.
Mm-hmm.
You are doing it now.
Well, that's true.
So
That's true.
give
So there's
yourself a little bit of credit.
There's
there.
a little bit of conflict there,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean is
I
that
do.
just objectively looking and saying, just because like compared to most people, you're doing really well.
Yeah.
Deep down, you're going to know if you're doing well, but you're doing well because you're only putting in a 7 out of 10 effort.
Yeah.
And you're getting good results. But
coasting.
deep down, you're like,
Yeah.
I could be putting 10 or 11 or 12 effort.
Dude, there's a lot to even unpack there.
Yeah.
Because
So that's a moment right there. Well, that's
No,
a
no,
fucking
no.
moment.
No,
Yeah.
there's even more to that. And the more to that is this. My 7 out of 10 in entrepreneurship is everybody else's fucking 20.
Right.
Okay. So like, and I don't mean that disrespectfully.
No, it is.
Anybody
It's facts.
else who's been doing it as long as I have, they're probably on the same level. But I'm saying when I look at people who are, 7, 8, 10 years in, and then I compare myself to them, I can do the same shit they're doing on a level 6.
With less effort. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then I have to really dig in and be like, bro, am I really going hard or am I not going hard?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like and it makes me feel more like myself when I'm like that. Like, dude, I am a savage, bro. That's who the fuck I am. That's why you guys listen to the fucking show,
Yeah. Guys, Andy, our third and final question number 3. Andy, I'm 22 years old, active duty military, and have a lawn care business on the side. I also help my dad with admin work for his construction company occasionally, in addition to the everyday things such as reading, workout, etc. Despite doing my best every day, I still fall into these moments of feeling like I am super far behind my friends or people on social media. You and your platform have helped teach me to be patient and play for the long game. But when you were in your first decade of your business, did you ever feel behind in life compared to others without the social media? And if so, how did you overcome this?
I still feel that way. I know that's hard for people to understand, but I still feel that way.
You still feel like you're behind?
Because it's about who you compare yourself to and who you're watching. I'm no longer watching, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I'm no longer watching like, I don't even want to say what I'm about to say because there's no way to say it nice. I watch the biggest people in the world. Okay. I watch people like this is going to sound insane, but I watch Elon Musk. I'm like, that guy's 10 years older than me. And look what the fuck he's done. I watch Bezos. I'm like, that guy's 15 years older than me. Look what the fuck he's done. You see what I'm saying? Like that's how I look at it. I know that's very unhealthy. But I still do that. And even before social media, of course I felt that way because when I was building my business and we were making no money, all my friends were getting degrees and they were getting jobs and they were, back then they were getting $60, $70, $80, $90,000 a year jobs. And I felt like a fucking loser. I'm over here making $600 a fucking month, $695 a month. Okay. Let's not forget that $95, right?
Yeah. One back then, I mean, $70K, that's a shit ton.
Dude. Yeah. I mean,
inflation.
Look, bro, it's different now. But the point is like, shut up. So fucking, the point is that, of course I feel that way, but like, I think any achiever feels that way. I think anybody who achieves anything at a high level, if you really get them to open up, they feel like they're fucking behind. Like, bro, Kobe Bryant didn't feel like he was the best ever. Now he got himself in that mindset when he went out on the floor, but like when he's practicing his shit, do you know why he's practicing? He's practicing because he knows or worries or questions whether or not he is actually the best ever. And he wants to make sure that's going to happen. And so a lot of our drive and our go as an entrepreneur comes from that feeling of feeling behind. And I think that's a great feeling to have. I think that's where all the good things in my life that I appreciate now, all these hundreds of people that work in this building and the thousands of people that work remote that I deal with who are amazing fucking human beings, that's all been produced from me feeling like I had so much to go and I was so far behind that I had to go hard. And so like, while I think it's an uncomfortable feeling, I don't think that many good things come from comfort. So I think it's something that you have to learn to live with and appreciate and appreciate what it provides because it provides all the shit that you're going to be proud of in the long term. So like, yeah, I felt that way. And I will say this, social media is a lot of lies. It's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of people on there pretending they're doing things and that their life is great and that they have no problems and that they're just killing it and they're killing it way more than they are. and, buy my method to kill it and be happy and be stress-free like me. And dude, the reality is these people come and go. And the reason they come and go is because they're not really who they say they are. And eventually it comes out. It's very hard to have longevity. I mean, we've been doing this for almost 10 years now. It's very hard to have longevity because most people fucking lie. All right. And so you have to consider that. Like when I look at some of these people on the internet, dude, who are like, because remember, I know what this shit costs. I know I know what the games are. Like I know the dude with the Huracan. Like I know how he got that Huracan. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not fooling motherfuckers up the ladder. You're only fooling motherfuckers below the ladder. And if you continuously try to fool everybody, the people above the ladder won't fuck with you. They won't invite you to the barbecue. They won't have you come over. They won't associate with you because they realize that you're full of shit. And so a lot of those people that make you feel bad are those people. And I wouldn't let those people, like we see this a lot with younger people these days. We see a lot of younger people who have good paying jobs, who have bright futures ahead of them. They've got a great career path ahead of them. And then they run across some person their age on the internet saying, I made $100,000 this fucking week by Wednesday. And it's like, dude. And then these people are like, bro, I'm over here working my ass off for I'm not even going to make that this year yet. You know what I'm saying? And they start demoralizing themselves when in reality, you're demoralizing yourself against something that's not even real. And that's a very important thing to consider when you find yourself in that negative headspace. You have to remember, like, a lot of this stuff isn't real, bro. A lot of these people are full of shit. A lot of these people aren't really doing things. And that creates anxiety and frustration and stress. And most importantly, it causes people to get into the hamster wheel cycle. And the hamster wheel cycle is where you don't want to be. This is how you ruin your life. Okay. And we've talked about this on the first MFCEO a lot. They get into something and they work really hard for 2 or 3 years and they look around and they're like, I'm not where I want to be. Look, dude on the internet. Right. And they feel bad. So they're like, fuck it, I'm going to quit. And then they just spent 3 years in that thing. Now they start over. And they go another 3 years and they go hard on that. And it's not, and then they look around, they're like, fuck, I'm not where I'm going to be. Well, now you've just wasted 6 years of your life. Okay. Then they do it again. Now you've wasted a decade. Then they do it again. Then they do it again. Now you've wasted 15 years. And the reason most people aren't successful isn't because they're not on the right path. It's because they quit the path that they're on before the reward ever shows up. And that's reality, dude. That's what these distractions in this game of comparison causes, that the most damage for young people, is it gets them to waste a decade or a decade and a half of their life. And then they finally we're in a place where they understand the game and they're like, now I'm 35 or 40 and I got to do this now. Well, I mean, that's better than figuring out when you're 60, like some people. Right. But if you continuously start this thing, and then go 3 years and quit, you're always going to be in the hamster wheel. You can't make progress. It's impossible to do. And that culture is propagated in society intentionally, by the way. All right. Why is that culture propagated in society intentionally, do you think? Why would they tell people, if you don't like your job, just fucking quit. If you don't like blah, 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 just do that. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why do you think they would do that?
Well, I mean, obviously, entrepreneurship is hard enough already. So making you quit that's consistent to take a chance on something that, no.
What do they want?
They want control.
And how do you get control?
By people being controllable.
People being broke.
Yeah.
Okay. They want you broke. So they tell you this idea of new fucking shiny new syndrome, and it's okay to just quit, and it's okay to do this, it's okay to do that. And they don't tell you the reality. The reality is if you spend your whole life in the hamster wheel every 3 years and start over, you never get anywhere. And what that creates is a nice little compliant, dependent peasant that has to plug themselves into the system to survive. And then you end up being a 40, 50, 60-year-old person that has to work a job that you hate because you have to survive. And that's what they want. That's what they want. And so you have to understand they propagate this mentality amongst young people intentionally because they want these young people to be fucking slaves forever.
Because they know they're going to break once or turn it on them like, oh shit, I'm just not made out for this.
But they tell them that.
Yeah.
We hear that everywhere. We see that in media articles. We see that in culture. We see that in, even some big influencers say that. You don't like your job, fucking quit. You don't like this, quit. You don't like that, quit. Bro, you're going to quit yourself on your whole life. This is reality. I'm not saying like there's not situations to quit. But if you think that you're going to find a new thing every 3 years and that's going to get you where you want to go, you're sorely mistaken. Everybody I know that's financially successful, they pick something and they stuck with it. Whether that be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, someone within the company, right? Someone within a system, a sales system or somewhere, you know, like you don't get to do it. It takes time. Time is an important part of the recipe. And, you know, unfortunately we live in this time of instant gratification and we have all these knuckleheads on the internet saying all this stuff that isn't true, making people think that they're losing. And that forces people to make these decisions that end up, you know, kind of shooting themselves in their foot for their life later on. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the only qualification that I would make is that I do think that people need to stick with things. I think that there is a process to discerning whether something truly isn't for you. But I think the important thing to ask yourself is, am I thinking of switching up simply because this is hard and I don't want to put the time and energy, the blood, sweat, and tears involved in this? Or can I sit back and go, okay, I'm evaluating who I am. I'm evaluating what my long-term goals are. I'm evaluating kind of how I'm wired as a person. If I can look at those qualifications and say, okay, I should probably switch, then I think that's legit. But if you're switching simply because it's hard, then yeah. And I think most people.
Yeah, and also if you are going to switch, what's the long-term play there? Where's that going? Okay, like where's that going to have you end up? I think that's the important thing to ask. You know, okay, I'm going to make this switch. I've been here for 3 years. I'm going to make a switch. Totally cool.
Yeah.
Where's the end point of this new thing that I'm going to do? Right. That's something people fail to ask.
That's a good point.
Well, I think from my, like, what I think about with this is like, you know, you talk about this analogy of baking the cake, right? You know, and this variable of time, you don't know how long it's going to take, right? And so you might go for 3 years without seeing any fruit, right? Any signs that this is working out. So like, I mean, what is the matrix, right? Like, you know, yes, we got the power list. I know that I'm putting everything in, but like, are there gonna, like, is that just how the game is? Like sometimes there just won't be any signs other than you knowing you put the input in.
Well, have you ever heard my analogy of the Chinese bamboo tree?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, in the Chinese bamboo tree, there is a 5-year period where once the seed is planted, the seed has to have water and nutrients and be taken care of for 5 years before it ever sprouts. And once it sprouts, within 8 weeks, it grows to a height of 80 feet. Okay. And that's how your life's going to work. Your life is going to be very, very frustrating for that first 3 to 5 years, but you're going to have to show up and you're going to have to give it the water. You're going to have to give it the nutrients. You're going to have to make sure that the soil doesn't get disturbed, right? If you went in there, this is no different than farmers, bro. Like if you go out and you plant corn in the field and you go out the very next day and there ain't nothing there, and you're like, this didn't work. What would happen to the people of the world? They'd fucking starve.
Yeah.
Okay. So luckily we have people that understand like shit takes time and you got to have certain things. You got to have water. Can't have too much water. Got to have just enough, right? Got to have the right conditions. Got to take care of the soil. This is no different than your life. You have to understand that when you plant the seed, there's going to be a time where you cannot see anything happening. It's no different than losing weight. Like when you were 350 pounds, like I was, the first fucking 2 months, I couldn't even tell the difference.
I was pissed.
Yeah. I'm like, fuck, I'm still fat.
Yeah, right.
You know, it sucks. But then, you know, you go to put your jeans on because you finally have the courage to put your jeans on. You're like, oh,
all right.
Getting a little looser.
Yeah.
Right. And the scale's saying, oh, you're down 15 pounds, but you still look the same. But as you continue to go, you continue to look a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. All right. And that's just how it's going to go in your life too. That's why fitness is such a great parallel for life.
Yeah. But that's the game. You have to accept
you have to be
that.
prepared for a period of time where you're going to be very frustrated. You know, and my advice for anybody going through that period of time right now would be to remind them that if you quit now, this is all for nothing. That's something that has always kept me going. If I quit now, all this shit I've done is for nothing. Like if I were to sell my company now, all this pain and all this shit that I did was for nothing because I didn't achieve what it is I had the potential to actually do. You see what I'm saying? So like these things, I mean, it's something to think about. And I think everybody has to decide what's right for them, you know?
Yeah, man.
I agree.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it, man. Well, guys, Andy, Vaughn, that was 3.
All right, guys. Hey, keep an eye out for this new MFCEO project, all right? I don't do too much social media anymore, so you're going to have to pay attention to your emails. But I promise you, we got something really cool cooking for you. You're going to be super impressed when we launch it. And I know it's taking a little longer, but you're going to understand why when we do. So I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And don't forget to share the show.